It's been another week of the fully jabbed making excuses for why their protective measures didn't work. ESPN host Stephen Smith says he nearly died after contracting COVID, but thank goodness he got all his shots. Wait, what? So all them vaxxuses still got sick, still got hospitalized, and says he nearly died.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
But Smith says he would have died had he not been poked. Never mind, there's no way of knowing that. Bringing you what's ignored, sensationalized, unbalanced, misleading, or just plain false, here's your media malfeasance for the third week of the new year. You know all those doctors who called on Spotify to stop Joe Rogan from spreading misinformation? The misinformation that kept him out of the hospital? Turns out the letter itself is misinfo. Mainstream media ran with the headline that doctors were calling Rogan a menace to public health. But of the 270 listed, only 82 were medical doctors. Registered nurses, dentists, and even veterinarians were among those who signed the letter. You know how many doctors and scientists have signed the Great Barrington Declaration? More than 60,000. Well, emails released show Fauci and the former NIH director tried to conduct a quick and devastating takedown of the declaration. More have signed on, and evidence grows that the fringe epidemiologists, from Stanford, Harvard, and Oxford, were right all along. The declaration advocates against lockdowns and for a more focused protection approach to combat COVID-19, which sounds an awful lot like what the WHO is now saying.
The aim is to protect the most vulnerable, to protect those at highest risk of severe disease and dying. Those are our elderly populations, the immunocompromised, people with underlying conditions, but also healthcare workers.
And advocating against vaccinating children.
There's no evidence right now that healthy children or healthy adolescents need boosters. No evidence at all. There's no evidence right now that healthy children or healthy adolescents need boosters. No evidence at all.
Also this week, CNN announces it's putting together a team dedicated to covering misinformation.
Oh, that is true. I didn't see that coming. An astute observation has led to laughter. We are laughing.
Well, the misinfo team won't have to travel. They need look no farther than their own network. The only thing falling faster than the ratings at CNN is the network's own credibility. Need we remind you of the peaceful protests, Russia hoax pushing, or covering up for Hunter's laptop? NPR caught lying this week after reporting a feud between Justice Sotomayor and Justice Gorsuch for his lack of wearing a mask. Other news outlets spread the rumor like wildfire. Both justices refuted the report, and Justice Roberts issued a statement saying the NPR article was false. He did not ask his colleagues to mask up on the bench. So NPR issues a retraction? No, they accuse the justices of lying. Does the CNN misinfo team want to go after this?
News team, assemble!
And a big week for Biden. He started it by marking Martin Luther King Jr. Day by comparing the Nobel Prize-winning civil rights leader and pastor to a violent criminal.
But even Dr. King's assassination did not have the worldwide impact that George Floyd's death did.
Well, Lion Biden repeatedly misrepresents his own civil rights contributions.
When I marched in the civil rights movement, I marched with tens of thousands of others to change attitudes.
You know, when I was a teenager in Delaware, for real, I got involved in the civil rights movement.
He had not actually marched during the civil rights movement, and more than once, Mr. Biden assured them that he understood, kept telling the story anyway. That is really, really weird.
And while President Biden posts this, we must continue our work to ensure that people of all faiths, or none, are treated as full participants in society, equal in rights and dignity. Mainstream news ignores that Biden is burying religious exemptions to the clot shot. The Liberty Counsel reported that out of the more than 21,000 requests submitted by members of the U.S. Armed Forces for a religious exemption from the COVID jab requirement, not a single one had been approved. Meanwhile, Dr. Eli David says Israel, the only quadruple vaxxed country in the world, also using mask mandates and COVID passports, broke a global record for daily COVID cases. To wrap this up, Biden marked his first year as president with a press conference. How did MSM do covering the first year? According to newsbusters.org, they hid Hunter's sketch scandals, buried the border crisis, gave zero time to covering radical nominees, and abandoned Afghanistan coverage. So let's just go straight to the source.
You know, there's a lot of frustration. I often see empty shells being shown on television. I have not been out in the community nearly enough. Go back and read what I said. We always have long press conferences. I don't believe the polls. But the nature, let me ask a rhetorical question. No, I won't. Anyway.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That's your Media Malfeasance for the week. For KLIM.News, I'm Kristi Leigh.